And it's gardening here on Mansfield today. So, of course, if you want to know more about what to do in your garden, well, get out of your house where it's cold and into the sunlight where it's warm. Unless you're in Cape Town, of course, this is the place to be. And why I'm talking about Cape Town, of course, is finally they seem to be getting some winter weather instead of just having that hot spell that they've been having. And somebody who's sitting down in Franschhoek, I believe at the moment, is somebody who's done amazing stuff for South Africa around the world when it comes to gardening. And that's Leon Kluger, the rebel gardener, the plant hunter, all those different things. How are you doing, Leon?
Hello, good, and you?
Oh, fabulous, thank you. So what are you busy with at the moment?
So at the moment, I'm on a site here in Franschhoek. It's called Sterrekoppie. It's a wellness retreat, and we're doing the gardens and the edible gardens. So it's still a project in the making. It'll take us another year or so, but it's a fantastic place. It's on the cover of House and Leisure this month.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so the first time I came across you was somebody said, oh, you've got to check this stuff out. There's this guy on YouTube and he's called The Rebel Gardener and all these wonderful videos with great production value, I have to say. And I kept on watching that. And then, of course, you kept on popping up everywhere because I started seeing your vertical gardens. But where did your love of gardening all start?
It started when I was little. My dad was a curator of Lowveld Botanical Gardens and my granddad of Betty's Bay Botanical Gardens. So I grew up in it. Yeah, so always I've never wanted to be a postman or a fireman. I always wanted to play with flowers.
And you're playing with flowers all over the world. I mean, where did it all start from you? I mean, you obviously learned at your parents' knees. And what, did you go and study and then go and do garden design, or how did it go?
Yeah, I went to study landscape design, landscape architecture, and horticulture, both of them, in Israel, in Jerusalem, and which is a great place to study horticulture and landscaping. They are so advanced, and I mean that's where irrigation comes from. That's where a lot of our hybrids of our cut flowers come from, and vegetables. So it was a fantastic place to go and learn about design. And from there, after my studies, I got a job at SNI, which is in the Comores, where I developed a big garden for a company, 20-hectare garden. And I stayed there for quite a few years. And then head to South Africa, where I opened Fever Tree Nursery in Nelspruit. But from there, I never wanted to do landscape design. It wasn't in the front of my mind. I love growing plants and collecting plants. But somehow I was seen by quite a few international magazines when I did a few gardens, and they picked it up. And so the journey continued. And at the end, I had no more time for the nursery, and landscape became my world. At the moment, I love my landscape. So yeah, I always try to push the boundaries and bring in new plants in my landscape. And I think that's why people find it quite interesting. And from there, I started to play with competitions.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've been to so many different places. I mean, to America, Japan, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. I mean, where's this thing come from? Because doing show gardens is not an easy thing.
No, it's not. And you can't enter to do a show garden. You have to be invited to do show gardens, which is the strange thing. And I was seen, I did a big vertical garden and landscape in Maputo. And some French magazines saw me. And so I was invited to do a garden in Japan, somehow through the channels. And I went there and I won the show. And from there on, once you get gold, you automatically get invited to another show. And so I started the show circuit, and it's never ended. So it's now been, I think, 15 years now. And I've done all the flower shows in the world.
And including Chelsea, of course, which you went along with Kirsten Bosch. How many years have you done the Chelsea Flower Show with the South African?
I was involved with Chelsea about 10 years, but not in the reign. So I wasn't the leader for most of it. David Davidson was, which was he was a big mentor of mine, and at the end, I took over the reins for the Chelsea Flower Show for Kirstenbosch, and at least we won gold. And but unfortunately, COVID happened, and with all of that drama of COVID, with the red tape, and all of that, and making it more expensive too, Kirstenbosch has decided not to be part of the Chelsea Flower Show anymore from this year. So we didn't go back.
That was, it was very sad not to see the South African display as we have in previous years. And I mean, how many years has it been? Like 30 years or something that South Africa's been winning gold.
Yes, exactly. So we are one of the gardens at Chelsea that has the most golds. We're one of the gardens that's been there for the longest time. And we are also the biggest display in the Grand Marquee at Chelsea. So when you go into that marquee, we are massive, and we're a big attraction for the crowds in London. And when we sold our plants and things, we had long queues of people wanting to buy our flowers right out of the tent. So I think not just for us, it's a very sad situation, but also for Chelsea itself, and not having that there.
Now, going on to the video side of stuff, as I said, I mean, the first time you came onto my radar was seeing you doing YouTube videos, but it's gone on from there, and you've actually been doing a whole bunch of stuff on TV. Just tell us a bit about where it went from the Rebel Gardener to what you're doing now.
So I have a deep and intense love for our indigenous plants, especially because I live in the Cape. The Cape flora and the fynbos all the way up the coast as well. And I felt, and I still do, that sometimes horticulture and the love for plants is a dying breed. And the only way to make kids and people fall in love with plants or find interesting facts about them and their personalities is to be exposed to it. And that is why I go into the mountains, and I spend my time, most weekends or off time that I have, in the mountains, filming interesting plants and telling the story about the plants to the South African public and also international public. We have such interesting things, and there's an endless amount of stories that we can tell about them. So it started with that. I'm not really on YouTube anymore, so my it's called Leon Kluger Plant Safaris, and it's on the Weather Channel on DSTV. So most people see it on there, and we're going to film season 2 shortly. And then also on my social media, which I love sharing the stories about plants. So that's something that I'm never going to stop with. I just love it. We're doing our first field guide that we're writing now, which will be ready and published by next year, July. So I'm also excited about that. Yeah, that's my plant story.
You're very, very busy. So what is the next competition or the next big thing that you have on your agenda?
Well, I just finished filming the Groenste Vingers 2, which is on CakeNet. So that's a floral arrangement show, reality show. And I'm one of the judges. I think I'm the quiet one, apparently. I didn't think I would be. I am. Which is such a fun show, and that will air later this year. At the moment, yes, I think we are busy going to film season 2 of Plant Safaris, and we're busy with a big park in South Korea, in Incheon City, which is right on the south of South Korea, next to Japan. We take the ferry over, and we're doing a massive public park there. So we're quite busy in Asia at the moment. But also here in South Africa, we are busy with quite a few interesting gardens. I'm doing a public park in Durbanville, where we are going to concentrate on the renosterveld, which is such a rare commodity we have left here in the Cape. And we are rehabilitating all the plants that are being demolished and killed by extension of roads. So we in the renosterveld and the city of Cape Town are saving all of those bulbs and plants. We're doing a new park in Durbanville. So
Fantastic.
That's also quite exciting to do.
Well, when you settle down just a little bit, and if you need a handlanger and you have space in your suitcase, please do give me a call, okay?
Anytime. Yeah, and if there's any company or person that feel like they could help with taking South Africa back to Chelsea, please contact me or Melanie.
Well, I think that we need to get hold of the people who actually put so much money into running Chelsea this year, considering that they are South Africans. I don't know why they didn't actually say, Kirstenbosch, come, let's do it. But I'll start motivating.
We'll have some coffee with them.
All right, I'll fly over to England just to go and have a chat and give them an offer they can't refuse. How's that? Leon, thank you so very much for joining us. It's always an absolute pleasure and lovely to know what you're up to and that you're keeping South African plants and the skills that we have here in South Africa so much in the forefront of the gardening world around the world. And we'll keep up with you. Let us know what you're up to.
I will do.
Thank you so much. And don't forget, of course, if you like this video, please hit like, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to Mansfield Today. We'll catch you again next week.